Now what we need to do is we need to pull in our logo. So I'll go here to this is my final logo. Now I need to make sure that this logo is all grouped together. So go to Object, Group. I want it to come in as one object. So I'll copy it, edit, copy, and then go back to here and I'll paste it. You can see it came in too big, so I'll just size it till it's approximately the right size. Now this box here, I just used this box to kind of show me where this banner was going to be, but now I want to kind of alter and play with this banner a little bit. I think it needs to be a little bit more friendly. So I'm going to round one of the edges. I'll use the Add Anchor Point tool, add an anchor point there, and about 45 degrees down, I'll add another anchor point. Then I will take the Delete Anchor Point tool and minus an anchor point. Then I will take the Convert Anchor Point tool and I'm going to pull some curves, pull a curve down. If you hold the Shift key, it will pull it perfectly straight. And that is how you create a curve. All right, now it's looking a little bit better. I'm going to pull this up a little bit. And then I'm going to pull this, so if I select each one of these anchor points while holding the Shift key, so if I select one, hold the Shift key and select another and then another, then take off the Shift key, click on one of the anchor points, hold the Shift key again, it will pull it up straight. I kind of like this idea of the magnifying glass going outside the banner. I think that adds some visual interest. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little like outline on the inside of here. So I'm going to copy it, paste in front, which is so Command C is copy or Control C on a PC, paste in front, and then I'm going to shrink this one, the one on the top, and I will make an outline like so. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here on this. You can see that the outline doesn't totally correctly mimic, so I'm going to move that over a little bit, and then I'm going to grab this and pull it over, and that looks a little bit better. And you know what, I don't like the one on the top, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm just going to pull these up to the top like that. Okay. One thing that I think might be interesting is what would happen if we pulled this down so it sits right on the bottom of that. I think that may add some interest there, some visual interest. But this gray line then bothers me as it goes underneath the type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more anchor points here. I'm going to add one here. And I'm going to make this logo just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to add one right here. Then I'm going to take the middle part of that line and delete it just by hitting the delete key. So I just selected that middle part of the line, and you can see all the anchor points are white, meaning I haven't selected any anchor points, just the line. And then I'll delete it, and I'm going to pull this in a little bit. Then I'll drop that so that the R and that line meet like that. That is good. Now one more thing I want to do is the magnifying glass here, I'm going to actually create it so it's white in there. Again, to just add a little more visual interest here. And maybe be a little creative because we're, you know, the magnifying glass, we're looking at something. So I'm going to grab this I'm going to grab the magnifying glass by using the direct selection tool. I'm going to copy and then paste. And then if I select the outside of this O and hit delete, delete, I will just have this middle part of the O left. And then I'll make that white. Like that. And I'll make it a little bit bigger just to make sure. I'll put it on top. And then I will bring the logo to the front. Like that. Very good. So that's interesting. I think the value of this logo is too much though. It's too black. So I'm going to knock it down so it doesn't draw too much attention to itself. There we go. So we've got our thumbnails And we have a kind of an interesting treatment of the logo up here. Now we've got to add a place for a pull quote, space for a pull quote, and an example. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually group those two things together. And that's a good thing to do in design. If we've talked about this before, grouping and relationships. And I'm going to have my pull quotes and my examples relate to each other. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I need to get some text. So I'm just going to draw a text box here and type in a pull quote is an important part of the text that you want to emphasize. Like so. And I want this text to be Ubuntu. I think that would be good to kind of set it off differently from our body text, which is Georgia. And then I am going to I'm going to draw a guide right along that banner, and I think that's where I want my text. Okay, so we could leave it like that, and I think that would be fine, but it's a little, I want it to be a little more interesting. So I'm going to pull a box. I'm going to create a box that goes all the way from the, kind of bleeds off the page. Oops, not my grid, just my guides. I'll show my guides, and that's right here. Hide guides, show guides is right here under view. I'm going to object arrange, bring to front. So this text, I'm going to make this box maybe really light. I don't want it to draw much attention to itself. Maybe like that. I'll pull it over a little bit so it aligns well. Pull it down. Okay, and it's a little bit better. But I think if we mimic this rounded edge, it would look a little bit more like it fits on the page. So I'm going to take this and again make another rounded edge by using these add, anchor, and minus tools. Like so. Okay, I think this one's a little bit too big. Too high, I mean. It's a little bit better. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now I'm going to grab the bottom of this text box, pull it up. Alright, so it doesn't get in the way. There we go. Now, what do we do with our example, though? Yeah, I'm going to go to a website here, one of the websites we looked at before. And I'm going to pull this image. One of the reasons I'm going to use this image is it's mostly gray. So it's not going to influence our color schemes that we'll do next time. But it will be a good example of what we can do with an image. So I'm going to copy that image. And I'm going to just paste it here. And I think our example images will be of varying sizes, whereas our thumbnail images were going to be the same size. Our examples will be different. And I'm going to actually kind of line it up there, but I want to leave a little white hairline between the two. I could put them right next to each other like that, but I want a little bit of a separation, and I can even exaggerate that separation a little bit like so. Okay, so we've got our thumbnails, we've placed our logo, and we have added this new requirement of a pull quote and an example of the design principle that we're teaching. Now, you may be saying, well, you had this nice little space over here where you could just throw your pull quote and throw your example on there, and it's not a big design change. And you may be saying, well, for me, this is a big design change. I'm going to have to move things around quite a bit to make room for these things. And that may be the case, but that's why I'm giving you this kind of surprise specification, because I want you to grapple with that. As a designer, you have to be able to do that. You have to say, okay, we have this new thing that we have to make room for, and we have to do it in a way that fits in with the current design without making too many changes. Okay, now, but I am going to have to make a little bit of a change because this space in here is too tight. So I'm going to grab all these things, and I'm going to just deselect that one and move it over. I'll use my arrow key here just a little bit. And then I'm going to move these two lines and make them meet back up again there. Okay, keep that strong alignment. Okay, and you're going to have to do things like that to make room for these two elements. But it's important for you to do it. Oh, another thing I need to do is increase that line height. And I need to move this and this down a bit. Okay, and that I think will be a good start for us. And now we get to play with color, and we'll do that in our next video.